Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2023 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat. Huge shout out to 704 Exotics for providing this vehicle for me today. Definitely take a look at their website. That link is down in the description. So this Hellcat is finished off in smoke show. They have a starting MSRP right around $107,000. And powering this Hellcat is the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 paired to the 8-speed automatic transmission. This pumps out 710 horsepower, 645 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the all-wheel drive system, propelling this 5,700-pound SUV from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Top speed is 180 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 24.6 gallons. You'll expect to see around 12 miles per gallon in the city, 17 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 119.9 inches. Its overall length is 201. It has a width of 76.4, a height of 72.1, and its ground clearance measures in at 7.8 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this Hellcat, let's start off with all the functional vents that are up front. Basically everything is designed to provide maximum cooling and heat extraction for this 6.2 liter V8. So there's a functional vent in the center, there's 2 heat extraction vents on both sides, with really nice bulges throughout the hood just to blend it in nicely. And then for the rest of these grills, both upper and lower, and even on the sides, everything is open to provide a lot of cooling. Now this also has a sensor up front for the adaptive cruise and all of that tech. There's parking sensors as well. And then this even gets the LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals that have a nice sleek design to them to match that upper grille. Has a thin design to it too, like you would see even on the Chargers or Challengers. SRT is over on that driver's side, and then gloss black is in that lower surround for the entire grille. Now as we work our way to the side, this gets a set of 20-inch wheels. They are 10 inches wide, both front and rear. Check out how massive these red SRT Brembo brake calipers are. Definitely will provide this with a lot of stopping power, as this is highly performance oriented. You need that stopping power, especially for the weight. Now there is another Hellcat logo. This has gloss black side mirrors with a turn signal, sunroof up top. The window trim in the lower section is blacked out. And then there's some nice lines running down the side. I wouldn't say anything is too crisp, but there's some nice fender arches both front and rear with some lines in the lower section of the door there. But it has a nice design to it for being a 3-row. I think they have stretched it out very nicely. And in back, this has the body colored spoiler with the integrated third brake light. Wiper blade is in the lower section there. This has a full LED strip that runs right through the power liftgate, along with having the LED taillights, of course. All the badges are in the lower section, along with the backup camera, the sensors, and this can even tow right around 8,700 pounds. Now that hitch cover is currently on at the moment, just to make it look a little bit nicer, and you can remove that when you need to tow. This has the dual exhaust located down below as well, which we can take a listen to. So you just lock the vehicle, double tap this, we'll bring it to life. And then when you double tap on that, you can shut it off if needed. You can unlock it. You can even use the key fob to open up the power liftgate, or use the control located in that handle right there. Now in back, even with the third row up, this is the amount of space that you get. So there is a good bit. You can stack items, of course, if you need a little bit more height. And check out the compartment underneath. There's even a drain plug too, but you could fit some items down below if you needed to. Deep cubby over on that passenger side. There's a 12 volt, along with some hooks too, and the area where you can put in a cover. You would have to have the third row down in order to use that. There's also tie-down hooks down below. So you get a good bit of space if you have a lot of people, and then it is very easy to fold down this third row. I love how quickly you can do that with the manual adjustments there. So that gives you a little bit more space, as you can tell. And then you can also fold down the 2 captain's chairs. Even with the armrest in the middle, it's pretty flush with the backing there. So that way you can put in a lot more items if needed. And then it is just as quick to lift up both of these seats. So you can do that in a matter of seconds. And then the button over on the driver's side is how you can lower that power liftgate. Now as we work our way to the back seating area now, there's a really cool dry carbon fiber trim piece just above the leather armrest. There's stitching. We have the release handle, speaker, and a little bit of storage down below. And paired with the smoke show is the solid red leather seats, even with SRT for the middle seats here. Now let's work our way to the third row now. In order to do that, just grab this lever down below. I haven't been able to get the seat to lock up from there or to pop up, but you can grab this release on the back and then fold it up from there. We're at 5'10". I have a good bit of space to work my way into the back. Now, as you can tell, plenty of room for my feet and my legs. There's an armrest, a cup holder too. You have large windows, dome lights, even vents in the back too. And at my height, 5'10", I have around 2 or 3 inches above my head. Honestly, I could go on a trip and be equally as comfortable as the captain's chairs in this third row. So it is spacious and usable for full-size adults, which is great to see, especially for the size of this. You even have a speaker up there behind your head too. So definitely plenty full if you need a functional third row. And then it's very quick to put that seat back and hop into the second row. Now in front of us, we have a storage net, driver and passenger side. There's air vents, these are even heated seats, and there's a bunch of auxiliaries down below that you can use as needed. Now right in the middle, 2 cup holders with some storage behind that. And then for the armrest, you can open up the top section. It's pretty thin, you could put your phone or something like that. And then you can open up the other one where you have some auxiliaries and a deeper amount of space where you can place some items. And then I have 4 or 5 inches above my head, and these seats do recline. So if I grab that lever, I can go back slightly, not a whole lot, but it's very nice and comfortable, very roomy for the second row. There's no armrest on these seats, but you do get, of course, the one right in the middle. And then all the climate adjustments are up top. So you can control that for your second and third row with fan speed, temperature, and where you would like the air to go. So actually pretty accommodative for anyone behind the front seats. And then up front, we do have the button where you can lock the vehicle. You can unlock it too, of course, by grabbing the door handle. We have that same dry carbon fiber trim, all of the window controls, the Harman Kardon sound system, a little bit more storage. And there's a little bit more bolstering support for these front seats, of course. We even have the red seat belts too. It's a pretty low SUV, so it's really easy to get into. And then for the steering wheel, we have solid and perforated leather. On this right side, there's cruise control settings along with distance pacing. We have the paddle shifters. Underneath the paddle shifters, there's volume and tuning adjustments. So you just have the paddles on the upper section and you can still use those controls. On the left side, there's Bluetooth and voice commands, and all of these will go through that digital gauge cluster. So let's fire this back up with that red engine start stop button and bring this back to life. And coming back to the gauge cluster, you'll notice the left side is miles per hour, right side is the fuel level along with engine temperature, and then for the LCD screen right in the middle, there are several settings that you can go through. So currently it's showing the tach along with miles per hour. You can see what gear the vehicle is in, and if I scroll down now, we can go through even more horsepower and other various settings, just depending on what you would like to see. So you have an array that you can scroll through, which is pretty nice to see. If I go back up to the performance or the miles per hour there, you can scroll over for kilometers and miles per hour, so you just have 2 settings there. But you can also go into speed warnings that you can adjust and set up, any diagnostics. There's also the screen setup. So if I hit OK, you have the upper left, the upper right, and a few others that you can configure as needed. So currently it's showing range until empty and the outside temperature, and you can go through these just to set it up the way that you would like to. Now if we go back, we can go up into any messages. You can pull up your phone too, so when you have that paired. There's also a trailering system, so you can monitor all of those vitals. There's trip information, which, let's face it, not that all that important for an SUV like this. You have your fuel and your average. You can also go to your driver assistance. And then in SRT mode, you can also look through a lot more vitals. So you have some timers that you can even go through too, G-force meter, and all of this. That is pretty cool to see factory for an SUV of this size. Last one, we have a few more vitals that you can scroll through. So it's a good bit of information front and center. Now, as we work our way to the side here, we have all the headlight adjustments, dimmer switch for the gauges. There's one air vent. And then as we look at the infotainment system now, we have a lot more info to go through. I really like the sizing of this too. Gives you really good graphics for this. Now, currently, We have phone, we have climate adjustments or shortcuts and gauges where you can configure this as you would like to. You can quickly get into your media, go into your comfort, so you can adjust everything, even your heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You can even go to the rears as well. You can pull up navigation and have that. There's also your phone. And then my favorite one is SRT for the vehicle settings here. We do have controls where you can fold down the third row headrest, you can pull up the camera, even go into various settings. But if you go into dashboard, let's go into the performance page now, where you have timers. You have a little bit of what you saw in the gauge cluster setting. It's just in a larger screen. You can even look at pitch and roll there, and then vehicle dynamics too, steering angle and where the power is being sent. Now, if I go back into this, we have different driving modes too. And we have the red key for the Hellcat today. So we can go through a lot of the different settings, put everything into track mode. You have sport mode, snow, tow, a custom, and an auto too. And you can configure all of those as needed. So you have a lot of different driving modes. And then for race options, for this SUV, we have a launch control, which you can activate, and you have a shift light, which you can adjust for each gear. So depending on how you want to dial this vehicle in for drag racing or whatever you are doing, you have a lot of performance tech that you can go through. And then for all of the apps, you can go through your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and you have various things that you can go into and configure. So basically everything that I just showed, you have different options to go through. Now there's even shortcuts up top, so you can quickly get into your heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, your phone. You have passenger settings too, and then even the clock right in the middle, and a few other shortcuts that you can get into. So it's a pretty nice system to go through. You have a lot that you can use. Now over below the engine start stop button, there's the trailer braking system, and then right in the middle, we do have physical buttons for the heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You can shut that upper screen off. There's volume, tuning, fan speed right in the middle. You have temperature dials, defrosters as well. And then below that, we have some more shortcuts for SRT, which is what I showed earlier. There's launch control, hazards, traction control, parking sensors, and then the lane keeping assist. Now below that, wireless charging with a lot of auxiliaries and some more storage space. More of the dry carbon, which looks really, really cool. There's 2 cup holders. And then let's put this into reverse so we can go over that backup camera. As you can tell, the guidelines are currently on at the moment, and that is the only angle that you do get. There's also drive and then the manual setting. So you can shift using the shifter or those paddle shifters that I mentioned earlier. A little bit of space where you could maybe put the key fob or something like that. And then in the center armrest, you have a good bit of space. You also have a little bit in the upper section too. So if you want to put your phone or some thinner items, you can do that. On the passenger side, there's the glove box. There's also a 12 volt, more of that dry carbon. And then the rear view mirror with a sunglass holder, all the dome lights, garage door buttons, and then for the sunroof, all of that is automatic. Minus the sunshade there, but you have the rest of the controls. And as far as visibility goes, even though this is a long vehicle, you can clearly see in both directions. So it's really not all that hard to see around. As we set off now behind the wheel for the Durango Hellcat, this is a very special and I'll call it more of a unique SUV that's a family-oriented vehicle, because we have that Hellcat motor that Dodge thought was a good idea to put in this family SUV, and it turns out that they were right, because I have a friend who drag races his Hellcat. Car seats are still in the back, no kids of course, but this is something that is family oriented, but also something that you can have a ton of fun with if you're into drag racing and you just want that type of performance, but you don't want to sacrifice having a sports car because you need the practicality. Maybe you even need the towing capabilities. Maybe you're towing your track car, and that way you have 2 vehicles that you can take with you to the track. Let's put it into track mode though, and from second gear, here we go. This is quick. It's crazy to see that for almost 6,000 pounds, and I'm short shifting. I'm not doing anything crazy in a vehicle I don't own, but this is quick. 0 to 60, 3.5 seconds. I mean, you're talking supercar performance level in a vehicle of this size. So if you want something that's like a supercar, the Hellcat Durango is definitely something to go with. You have so much performance-oriented tech too, which I love to see from a factory vehicle. You don't have to do anything to this. Maybe a few minor modifications if you want to get it to 1,000 wheel horsepower. It's very simple to do, and it's a very healthy motor for this vehicle. Now, as far as just daily driving it or just driving it like I'm doing right now, it's just a normal SUV. It can take some bumps like that where we have some construction at the moment, but it's just a normal family style SUV until you decide to put your foot down a little bit harder. So this is something that you can absolutely daily drive. You can use it as a practical 3-row SUV. It just happens to have a little bit different of a motor under that hood compared to some other SUVs of this price point and category. That was just an automatic too. This thing is crazy. I wish I could rip on it more, but I have seen these do some performance driving. I would say it's better for drag racing, a little bit more straight line performance. You could probably take it through some twisty roads. You just have to be mindful of the curb weight. It's not a low SUV or a low sports car, so its center of gravity is a bit higher, but it's mainly for those stop and goes through traffic lights. But it's definitely a lot of fun, a lot of power. It's honestly the best of everything, and you really don't have anything that really competes with this as far as being a 3-row like this. Cadillac CT or the Cadillac Escalade V could be another competitor, but it's not going to be as performance oriented, and it's going to cost a lot more. Maybe the BMW X7 M60i, but again, not as performance oriented, still a 3-row, maybe a little bit more expensive depending on the options you get. So there's other 3-row SUVs out there that have performance, but I think the Durango is the only one you're really going to track. We have launch control, which none of the others do. I know, it's cool, and you get that supercharger whine as well. And from second gear, here we go. Just a minor acceleration. This is up to speed. The paddles are surprisingly very responsive too, which is awesome to see for an SUV like this. I mean, it feels kind of like you're in a Charger or a Challenger Hellcat with the same design for the paddles. It's impressive that they are that functional, and that's what you would expect, of course, in a vehicle like this and what it's designed to do. But hopefully you were able to hear a little bit of that supercharger whine. You can hear that exhaust too. So it's definitely not shy of being loud here. Man, this would be really, really fun to take on the track and really just experience its full potential. But behind the wheel now for this 6-figure SUV, it's very nice. I love these materials here. I think they did a few changes for 2023. I know 2024 is going to be significantly different from what I've seen a little bit of, but compared to some of the previous ones I've been in, this is a very nice setup. I think the screen's a little bit larger too, and some of the materials are definitely a little different, but it's a nice place to be. For 6 figures, it's still a Dodge, so yes, that's a lot of money for a Dodge in my opinion, but you are paying for pretty much the performance, and you do get some nice creature comforts and amenities. So when you weigh everything together, I'd say it definitely has more performance than a few of the other vehicles that I mentioned, which may have a little bit more technology features compared to this, but you get a lot more performance. You definitely get a sweet SUV to drive. I love the bolstering for these seats. They hold you well. It's super comfortable too. There's no suspension settings. I lied. There is suspension settings. So even in track mode, I don't have any complaints with it. You can put it into the sport suspension too. So if you want to change that, I haven't really seen a difference, but I'm used to some stiffer suspension. So it's something that I do even in daily driving my own vehicles. But it's nice. It's definitely a cool vehicle, and I really can't think of why you wouldn't want to buy it. If you want performance, practicality, you want everything, check out the Durango SRT Hellcat. That's going to wrap it up though for today's review for the 23 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat. Once again, huge shout out to 704 Exotics for providing this for me today. Check out their website, give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.